Welcome to BeFM Drama, where we're presenting Part 3 in a 5-part adaptation of The Adventure of the Speckled Band, a classic Sherlock Holmes mystery. In Part 3 of our story, Holmes and Watson have just heard the tale of the mysterious death of Julia Stoner from her sister Helen. Julia died in a sealed bedroom in the ancient country house of her eccentric stepfather, Dr. Grimesby Roylott, a man of fierce tempers and odd tastes. Julia's last words to her sister warned her of a speckled band. Join us now as Holmes and Dr. Watson prepare to travel to Stoke Moran, the Roylott family home where Julia died so badly. As we quickly prepared for our journey to Stoke Moran, there came from downstairs a jangling of the bell, followed by an expletive-studded cacophony of furious male yelling.
What in the name of the devil?
Hardly before my companion had finished speaking, our door was flung open, and a huge man appeared in front of us, his red face throbbing with rage. He wore a black top hat, a long coat, and a pair of knee-high rubber gaiters over farmer's boots. He was so tall that his hat actually brushed the top of the doorway as he passed, and wide enough that he filled it completely from side to side. His large face was seared with 1,000 wrinkles and burned yellow by the tropical sun, marked by every evil passion. His deep-set yellowish eyes and thin, fleshless nose gave him the appearance of an aging bird of prey. A hunting crop was swinging threateningly in his hand, as though he'd moved to strike us.
Which one of you is Holmes?
That is my name, sir, but I'm afraid I don't know yours.
I'm Dr. Grimesby Roylott, a Stoke Moran.
Indeed, Doctor, indeed. Please take a seat.
I'll do nothing of that kind. My stepdaughter has been here. I have followed her. What has she been saying to you?
Doesn't it feel a little cold for the time of year?
What has she been saying to you?
But I have heard the spring flowers are looking promising.
Ha! You put me off, would you?
He took a step forward, shaking his hunting crop.
I know you, you scoundrel. I've heard of you before. You're Holmes, the meddler.
Holmes smiled.
Holmes, the busybody.
His smile broadened.
Holmes, the Scotland Yard office boy.
Your conversation is most entertaining. Close the door when you go out. There's a bit of a draft.
I will leave after I have had my say. Don't you dare meddle in my affairs. I know Miss Stoner has been here. I am a dangerous man to anger. See here.
And with that, he stepped forward, grabbed the poker from beside the fire, and bent it into a curve with his huge brown hands in front of our dumbfounded eyes.
An example of my grip. See that you keep yourself out of it.
He hurled the twisted poker into the fireplace and strode from the room. The moment the door slammed behind him, Holmes and I burst out laughing. He seems a very friendly person.
I'm not so bulky, but if he had waited, I might have shown him that my grip was not much weaker than his own.
As he spoke, he picked the bent poker from the coals, and with a sudden grunt, he straightened it out again.
Still a little kinked, but no matter. Can you imagine having the insolence to compare me to the official detective force? Goodness, this incident gives me some zest to my investigation. I only hope young Miss Stoner will not face his wrath for coming here. Let's order breakfast. Afterwards, I'll take a quick trip to the Doctor's Commons and dig up some information that might help us.
It was nearly 1 o'clock when Sherlock Holmes returned. He held a sheet of blue paper, scrawled with notes and figures.
I have seen the will of Dr. Roylott's deceased wife. There is some complex investment involved, but at the time of her death was a little short of £1,100. Now, after a fall in agricultural stocks, it's not more than £750. Each daughter has the right to £250 a year from that total after marriage. It's clear that if both girls married, our lovely Dr. Roylott would be reduced to a mere pittance. Even one daughter marrying would cripple him financially. There's little doubt who has the motive for murder in this case. Watson, this is too serious for dawdling, especially now that the old man is aware we are investigating. If you are ready, we shall go to the station. I would appreciate it if you brought your revolver. An Ely's number 2 is an excellent deterrent to gentlemen who can twist steel pokers into knots. That and a toothbrush are, I think, all we'll need.
At Waterloo, we were fortunate to catch a train immediately. We hired a carriage at the station and drove for 4 or 5 miles through the lovely countryside near Stoke Moran. It was a perfect day, with bright sun and a few fleecy clouds in the heavens. The first green shoots of spring were all around, and the air was full of pleasant smells. There was a strange contrast between the loveliness of the day and the sinister business we were engaged on. My companion sat in front of the carriage by the driver, arms folded, hat pulled down over his eyes, his chin sunk on his chest, buried in thought. Suddenly he jerked upright, turned to face me, and pointed over the fields.
Look there!
A wooded stretch of parkland rolled up a gentle slope, becoming nearly a forest at the top of the hill. From the branches at the highest point jutted the rooftops and sharp gables of a very old mansion. Holmes turned to the driver.
Stoke Moran!
Yes, sir. That's the house of Dr. Grimesby Roylott.
There's some construction going on up there. It's where we're going.
The village is off to the left, but if you want to get to Stoke Moran, you better walk from here. Go through the gate there over where the young lady is waiting.
Yes, I fancy that's Miss Stoner. We had better do as you suggest.
We got off, paid our fare, and the carriage rattled on towards the village.
I thought it better, Watson, that the fellow should think we come here as architects or some other definite business. It may stop some gossip.
Our client of the morning hurried forward to meet us with joy on her face.
Good afternoon, Miss Stoner.
Oh, I have been waiting so eagerly. All has turned out splendidly. Dr. Roylott has gone to town and is unlikely to be back before evening.
We have had the pleasure of making the doctor's acquaintance.
Miss Stoner turned white to her lips as she listened.
Good God, he followed me.
So it appears.
He is so cunning that I never know when I am safe from him. What will he do to me when he returns?
He may find that he's run up against one more cunning than himself in this case. You'd better lock yourself away from him tonight. If he's violent, we'll take you to your aunt's house at once. For now, time is short. Please take us at once to the rooms we ought to examine.
Stoke Moran was of grey, lichen-blotched stone, a high central structure with 2 wings curving off it like the claws of a crab. The left-hand wing had broken windows, blocked with wooden boards, and the central portion was little better, the roof beginning to cave in. The house looked practically ruined, but the right-hand wing was in better repair, with blinds in the windows and smoke coming from the chimneys. This was clearly where the family resided. Some scaffolding had been set up against the end wall of the wing, the stonework had been partially dismantled, but there were no signs of any workmen around. Holmes walked slowly up and down the badly mowed lawn and looked with deep attention at the outside of the windows. He pointed to the room at the end of the wing with the scaffolding on one side.
I take it that this is your room, the center one your sister's, and the one closest to the main building is Dr. Roylott's?
Exactly. But now I'm sleeping in the middle one.
Because of the construction. Watson, does there appear to be any real need for repairs on that wall?
Not that I can see.
I don't believe there is. I believe it was an excuse to move me into my sister's room.
Very suggestive. Now, on the other side of this narrow wing is the corridor these 3 rooms open into. Are there any windows in it?
Yes, but very small ones. Too narrow for anyone to pass through.
Since you both locked your doors at night, your rooms were inaccessible from that side. Miss Stoner, please go into your room and bar your shutters. We'll watch from out here.
Miss Stoner did so, the shutters banging closed. Holmes walked to the window, examined it, and tried for the next 5 minutes to force the shutter open, using every method he could think of without success. Even a knife blade couldn't be passed between the bars. He tested the hinges, but they were of solid iron and slotted directly into the stonework.
That presents some difficulties for my theory. No one could get through these shutters if they were bolted. Well then, I guess we'd better go and see if the inside of this old ruin can shed any light upon the matter. Come along.
With that, he turned and walked straight through the brooding, decrepit entryway of Stoke Moran, disappearing into the gloom. With a heavy sense of foreboding, I moved to follow, leaving the warmth and life of that lovely spring day behind. What will Holmes and Dr. Watson find as their investigation carries them into this foreboding, crumbling country estate? Tune in tomorrow to find out as their investigation continues here on BeFM Drama. From our studio in Busan, I'm your host, Joshua Cornwell.